First of all, three things. I think, I believe, and I know. Think about how many times in any given day that you might use any of those interchangeably. I mean, we say I think all the time. How many sentences in a day do you suppose are preceded with I think? I think so. I think we should. I think that's a good idea. Well, I think. Or how about I believe? Probably a little less. I believe so. I don't believe that's correct. And I know would be hopefully even more rare, because you shouldn't be running around boasting knowledge claims unless you're in the right circumstances. So I know should be used very rarely compared to the other two. Now let's go in for a little bit closer look. What does I think actually mean? When you precede a sentence with I think, you are basically giving me a physiological statement of fact. I already know that you think. I can see that you're a living, breathing human being. And so you don't need to point out to me that you also think when you are about to speak to me. So that is just a bad habit that we should lose. So you should try to eliminate I think. Instead, you should use I believe. Why do I want you to use that? Why is that preferable? Because as you will recall from the section on ideology, what we are most concerned about is what people believe, what they believe to be true. So when you precede a sentence with I believe, now I know to tune in, because you are giving me a much more specific statement of ideology. And so I'm going to pay attention to that. I know, now we are about to make a knowledge claim, which, as you will recall from the section on epistemology, is an epistemological claim. So anytime that you hear I know, if you're going to use that, you had better be reciting a justified true belief to me. If you precede a point that is not backed up with justified true belief, then you have just made a false claim of knowledge, and that is the quickest way to discredit and humiliate yourself in front of an audience. So you want to be very careful about when and where you use I know. All right, so there are three more terms that I included in the lecture notes, and I want to talk about those quickly. Possible, plausible, and probable. These are terms that people use interchangeably. Most people can't tell you the distinction between the three. I want to give you the definition of each in the right context for our purposes. And so let's begin with possible. What is possible? Well, just about anything, right? Almost anything imaginable is possible. This is a broad spectrum of things. So it would serve us to try to determine what would not be in the category of possible things, rather than try to cover what's included, which would be so expansive we'd be here till the end of time. So what would not be able to be included in things possible? Well, how about mathematics and logic? They're very closely related. Math and logic we'll speak of as the same thing for our purposes. It's not possible for something that has this many things to it to be added to this many things and get a total of this many things. That's not possible anywhere in the universe. Okay, so there's an exception. What another exception might be is if you would imagine physics for a second. Is it possible for me to be in two places at the same time? Of course not. Therefore, we could say, for a definition of possible, anything that does not break the laws of physics or logic. Anything conceivable that does not break the laws of physics or logic. That would be possible. That's how broad and expansive that is. It's almost anything. Now, plausible takes it a step further. So if I try to imagine something that's possible that sounds wild? Is it possible that a flying saucer could show up this afternoon, land in my front yard, and have a ladder come down and tiny green aliens come down wearing tuxedos, speaking Portuguese? It's possible. It's not very likely, but it certainly is possible that could happen. It's conceivable. Now, is it plausible? We know it's a possible thing, but is it plausible? Something becomes plausible when there is some evidence or argument to support it. So in this case, is there argument or evidence to support the UFO coming down and the alien speaking Portuguese and wearing the tuxedo? No, there's no reason to suppose that that's going to happen, and so that claim would not be plausible. It's possible, but it's not plausible. Now, if you got the emergency alert on your cell phone right now and you look down and the text message said, emergency alert from NORAD, object has been picked up on radar entering the Earth's atmosphere, it's streaking across the western United States, it looks like it may crash somewhere over Texas, and the only thing that we've been able to pick up on radio signals was what sounds like Spanish being spoken, similar to Spanish. Now, it'd be a really long text message, but if you got that, then you could say, now it's plausible, the claim that the aliens would show up here and come down the ladder wearing tuxedos and speaking Portuguese. That just became a plausible claim because we have some reason to suppose that it's going to happen. Finally, we get to probable. Now, probable is the strongest of all, but it means something very specific. And for our purposes, you can think of it this way. Probable means 50% plus 1. Something is more likely than not to occur. Something is more likely than not to occur. So, probability. If I flipped a coin 100 times, what are the odds that I would get heads every time I flipped it 100 times? Not very good. Is it possible? Certainly possible. Is it plausible? That's a gray area. Plausibility we could make an argument that a casino could probably give us odds on how long it would take before we were able to flip it 100 times, and you could construe some argument of plausibility in that way, I suppose, but in layman's terms, no, it's not really plausible that would happen. You're not likely to see that. So not plausible that I could flip the coin 100 times and get heads every time, and certainly not probable. So if I flip the coin one time, is it possible that I would get heads or tails? Yes. Is it plausible that I would get tails? Yes. Half chance. That's argument and evidence enough. You have a 50% chance of getting tails on that one. Is it probable that I will get tails? No. This is the tricky one. It's not probable because it is not greater than 50% that you will get tails. It is perfectly equal that you will get heads or tails. So we could not advance that to probable. Now, if you had a weighted coin to use in magic tricks and that kind of thing, then you might have a probable case. Otherwise, no. So that's a little bit about linguistics. I just wanted to address those 6 terms. So you have the 3 phrases, rather, I think, I believe, and I know. And then the 3 terms, possible, plausible, and probable. So hopefully that clears things up for you. And that's the end of my lecture. So take care.